Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. Who are they in the background? Can't tell. I should almost have said Limping Wednesday, quite honestly, because, I have been, as of a couple of days ago, as of really running in Berlin, I've been having severe problems, actually, not severe. I've been having problems with walking. Mainly the, actually, you know what? I'll get to that. Let's discuss the end of Paris first, because obviously the last time that I gave anyone an update on where I was, it was literally the day right before I started this journey that I warned people that I was going to be on for a while, and it is still that while. So here we are now, and let me just go over. Paris was. It was mainly museums and churches, but there was quite a lot that we were going around and looking through and stuff. The prices to go in, they weren't too bad, and actually, if you're a student or if you're under a certain age, you get in practically for free in most places. So just let you know about that. But yeah, basically, a lot of it was really it's kind of interesting the way that it compares to Berlin and Vienna, where I am now. Because it seemed that Paris, for the most part, it still had quite a few ancient buildings in it, and then of course the modern ones around. And actually, Jorge was kind enough to tell us how exactly the streets came to be so wide and such. And that was actually partly because of this. That was entirely because of this architect called Haussmann, who actually put it as a decree that was in it was that when Paris still had a lot of medieval type buildings, when they were trying to remake it and make it the most visited capital that it is today, they Haussmann said that all the streets had to be the same width as the building walls were high. There was some stipulation about the roofs as well, so you could sort of see some remnants of that in a few places, but then not so much in other ones. It's kind of interesting. That was one thing. We had quite a few panoramic views. We had quite a lot of time to do that. We were up from the Arc de Triomphe, and we were in several other places that were just you could go up and see different museums and such. I think the second day we were there, we went to both the Louvre and the Orsay. I forget exactly the order of events, but yeah, there's quite a few. I think I just photobombed somebody by accident. Yeah, probably did. Oh well. Essentially, by the way, where I am right now is I am in Volksgarten, and that is the Garden of the People. As you can see, here are the people. So yeah, we have just been around museums and such. So yeah, I think it's kind of pointless to really try and go into all the minutiae of every place that I've been, partly because I won't know the exact order we did things in, and also because, good grief, there is a lot. However, one place I will mention, of course, that we went to in Paris was the zone of Boulogne-Billancourt, which, in case people don't know, which most people really won't, even if you have watched Code Lyoko, is actually the area where the factory that is in that show is actually from. So I, of course, being the extreme fan that I am, dragged people who would also watch that show from childhood on an hour journey from literally one end of a metro line to another to go and see a factory that, even at the time of Code Lyoko's airing, did not exist anymore. But there is now a cultural centre there, so if you want to experience the Seine River's musical musings, I suppose, then go ahead and do that, because I didn't know that was a thing. So we didn't make any reservations at all for that. Actually, to be honest, we haven't really made any entertainment reservations at all. It's basically just been an artistic reservation. I just realised I have to go around this area. There's a little bit more in that place, but I am trying to yeah, I'm trying to get back round and circle around to a place that we came from, so I can show you a few of the museums that were around. I may actually pause the video if I end up going around for too long. But in the meantime, I'll go through updates, because obviously. So the reason I say that Paris and Berlin were such a contrast was because Pika himself actually made this comparison when we got to Berlin, that you could tell that Berlin was destroyed by World War II. So, and actually we found out while we were there that, you know, people in Berlin thought the war was never actually going to reach them. Oh, they had to be safe in the capital of the place that started it and was controlling all of the invasions and such. I'm not supposed to be stepping on this grass, and I should not have done that. Whoops. But yeah, the reason I say that is because obviously Paris has, you know, built on itself. Berlin has rebuilt itself. Of course, there's also, you know, remnants of after the war, you know, the Berlin Wall and such. And we saw several sections of that. We saw Checkpoint Charlie, where I filmed another weird advertising, because of course I did. Doesn't matter if it's historic, you can still have weird advertising there. And we also yeah, we also saw some other places like the West that had like the most remnants of it, and there was like a mural there. There's quite a lot by this artist called Yadigar Assisi, who we also saw a particular museum of the city of Pergamon in it was actually Rome, was it? I'm trying to remember if it was Greece or Rome. It was Rome. Sorry, it was Rome. Yeah. People are going to be screaming at me. It was Rome, you fool! No, okay, I know. All right, so yeah, and that was entirely like a three-dimensional. You know, it was like one panel. There were a few little bits of sculptures and things like that, but the main event was really the Assisi painting they collaborated with several people on. That was actually just about you know, bring a three-dimensional image to just, you know, a 2D plane. I guess, you know, doing that on a 3D geometric shape like a cylinder kind of helps with that process, but then again, as people know very well by now, I am not an artist, so I have no clue what I'm talking about. So yeah, there's a reason I do gacha, people. But yeah, by this time was when the problem started emerging with my walking, as I mentioned before. So basically, when we left, what we did was we said we were going to, instead of taking, you know, suitcases, so that we were able to carry all of our stuff as needed, because sometimes our Airbnbs wouldn't be open by the time that our flights got in, details like that. What we were going to do was take some rucksacks. So I thought, okay, fair enough. I actually have a rucksack that is big enough to fit in, you know, my computer bag with all that stuff in case I have to, you know, fix a live stream or edit 2 premieres, both of which I actually did have to do. So just as well that I had that prepared. But yeah, so okay, and also obviously change of clothes, wash bags, spray, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, by the way, this is the area we were in just now, with all of the palaces and museums and statues behind moi, and also a bunch of flags, fittingly. We didn't really go to the flag section, but you know, they're there in case anyone was wondering. Okay, so basically, sorry, I thought it was someone trying to jump at something else. I didn't want to give it away. Yeah, so the walking problems were because I was the only person who brought that kind of bag. It's basically, you know, the ones that you take for hiking. That was what I thought. Okay, so we're going to take... Yeah, there's not really like a specific distinction in Spanish words between different types of backpack and such. We just use mochila for everything. So, you know, they had satchels, for example, different types of mochilas, and then, you know, little tiny bags that you can, like, you know, You tug on the strings and they close the top, that kind of thing, which I've been taking around with our water and food and stuff. Which, by the way, if I'd known that we were going to do that, it's not a good idea to do that in Paris, because my French teacher actually did say that was a bad idea. And people could go around with basically like small knives and stuff and like take them out, like surgically remove things from inside your bag and things like that. I don't know if that's still a common practice or not, because that trip when she actually mentioned that was in 2013. So yeah, I don't actually really know, quite honestly. Oh no, it was 2014, sorry, no. Yeah, that's right, 2014, because yeah, of course, I turned 14 during that trip, actually. I went to Paris as a 13-year-old and I came back as a much more mature 14-year-old by a couple of days. So, actually it was the last day. They celebrated it on the penultimate day, but it was the last day that was actually the thing, because they didn't have time, because it was going on a trip on the ferry and all that good stuff. And then I think I was actually allowed to pick a Disney movie, two Disney movies, because there was an offer for 2 Disney movies when I got back. But I picked Frozen, which actually was so new it wasn't part of the offer yet. So that is the reason I have seen Frozen just in time for the Frozen hype to actually hit the UK, or at least hit my school, which was, literally the weekend after. So yeah, I was quite lucky there. That was a strategic purchase, I believe. I don't know, maybe not. I'm just gonna keep remembering to put a few, shadows around and stuff like this, shadows, panning shots and such. Ow, my foot. Yeah, too uneven of a terrain. Okay, walking problems. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Walking problems. So, yeah, so basically what happened was, because I was the one with the heavy bag and such, it was fine when we were, traveling around on trains and stuff on the first day of Paris, just taking our time. But as soon as it got to the point where we were actually having to, there was no bus to take us to our train station, and we were having to run in certain sections, that's when it started getting really bad. Because I was forcing myself to run, and by the time we got there, my muscles, like my calves, I think, and also the front, that's not the quads are further up, I think. But yeah, they were literally so tense that you could knock them and it sounded like bone. So that, needless to say, that really put a strain on walking, and actually to some extent I can still feel that on my left leg in a few occasions. But yeah, it gets worse. So I spend the majority of the Berlin trip, when we're still going around other museums and such, just basically trying to rest in every possible situation, walk the exact least amount that I could, and but also keep up with everything that everyone else is doing, which was basically an impossible feat. I mean, I think we even had a few more museums in Berlin I don't really know the names of, actually. My German is not as good as my French, which is already on the rocks. So yeah, and here we are in another place that speaks German. Like I said, speaks German. Right back to the gardens. So yeah, so that was the whole thing. But then of course I have to put the rucksack back on again when we're going to the next place. And that's, yeah, by this point I'm still tense. And I'm trying not to lean anything too much. I'm trying to find a comfortable position while we're standing and waiting. And also at the same time having people joke around and being like, oh yeah, we got to run here, It's like, ha ha ha, yeah, of course we do. And then we did have to run to the bus in the end, which is a coincidence that around that exact same time, I noticed that my left foot was entirely swollen. Yes. So this is where it kind of gets a bit more gruesome than just tense muscles. Not really too much, but in case you're a little bit squeamish, I suggest probably, I don't know, skip to around the time. If you see the video timeline, I'll do this. There we go. There we go. If you see my hand doing this at a different part of the video, which I don't know yet, then that's where to skip to, basically. Okay, go. So my foot swells up, and so I take my shoe off because, of course, oh, sorry, hang on. Because, of course, it's hurting because, you know, it's swelling up inside this thing that's not going to expand with it. My sock is fine for the most part, although there is a bit of an indentation there. But, yeah, I can definitely tell that it's about like 0.5 times the width and of the rest of my foot, and it almost like forms like a cylinder shape that was like not really like a cylinder shape like coming upwards. No, like the top of it was, you know, where my toes would be and such. Well, my toes are. It's like I formed a full block on my feet. That's a bit misleading. I apologize. Yeah, by the way, back in the gardens. Hello gardens. So I have that off for the entire rest of the journey, the bus journey there, which is about, I think it was like 7 or 8 hours. I can't remember. We passed by Prague during that, actually. So I sent photos of that because Prague is actually a place that Leon Tarkshina was briefly obsessed with, also in 2014. I'm just completing the cycle now. So yeah, but then afterwards I put my shoe back on, of course, and by this point I've told everyone, you know, my foot is swollen, and they can see me just limping, like this, basically. And I was still doing that sort of until about today. So again, I got cured around the perfect time. I mean, the first day of Vienna, which was yesterday, was not really an eventful one, mostly because we were all so tired, not just me. But yeah, we did go and get some food. I sat outside while they did the shopping, because they didn't want me walking any more than I had to, even though I walked to a cash register anyway because I owed some of them some money and such, and then for the common pots that we all have. I realized people, that's a bit of a weird metaphor, it's un bode, like the pots, like a figurative pot of where we have like funds for everyone. Just in case, you know, YouTube thinks I'm talking about something else, which I am not. So yeah, but then afterwards, the bit afterwards was that when one of them literally turns around when I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna go into I'll go back, I'm gonna put my foot up, and I'm finally gonna be able to actually relax and get this pressure off. He literally just turns around and says, "What? You're gonna go to the pharmacy or what?" As if it was like the most, you know, as if it was like logical in the flow of the conversation. It was logical in general, but it wasn't. It came up a couple of times where I was like, okay, well, if I find a pharmacy while you guys are shopping, then I'll go to it. I didn't. I found the cash register. I mean, I feel like it somewhat makes sense that if I wasn't meant to be walking around, I wasn't going to be looking for a pharmacy at the time. But then again, who knows? So yeah, we basically do that, and so I turn around. He gives me directions, and you know, I end up just like limping painfully up this hill for quite some time. I get there. The lady is actually, fortunately, speaks English, and you know, gives me this gel. You know what? I'm going to say what the gel is. It was Dolco Bene or something like that. It was yeah, hashtag not sponsored, but it works, so I don't care. So yeah, basically, yeah. So I'm told to use that 2 to 4 times a day. If the swelling doesn't go down, I go to a doctor, and so constantly, even though I didn't just been applying it for the rest of that day in the Airbnb, I was also told not to move there, basically. And get my foot high. They kept on asking me, "Oh, are you going to go to the doctor?" Even today, like when I woke up, "Are you going to go to the doctor?" And I kept on saying, "Guys, I understand what you're saying, but look, it's only if the swelling doesn't go down." And actually, this is the somewhat gross part as well, I was taking pictures of it, so I could tell when it was like when I finally took my socks off. I could see that 1 foot, it wasn't just swelling, it was also like red. And then like pretty much after applying the cream, the redness went immediately. Then it's been slowly going back down, and now actually I'm able to walk perfectly normally with a little bit of tension still from you know, from concentrated calf, because of the way that I had to lean on it, because otherwise it would actually hurt to push forward and like tilt my foot, so the swelling would clash because it went up past the ankle as well. So yeah, basically I'm okay now. All right, hopefully you're back. So that's honestly kind of it for now. But the thing that we saw today actually was the treasury, where there was a bunch of stuff from the Holy Roman Empire, many tabards, many gold items, and quite a few crowns actually, and they are interesting. I did see someone as well who looked like they were a Blackadder descendant in one of the paintings. But yeah, so yeah, that was because I don't know much about the Holy Roman Empire in general. I looked them up kind of once, and yeah, it seems that Europe has been conquering each other even more than I thought they would, which is already saying something. You know, forget other places for the time being. You know, internal affairs need to be sorted out at the time as well. That's not to say, obviously, that, you know, the other places weren't also suffering a constant change of hands. That's also why I kind of like where we are now, where, you know, anyone who actually does try and take over certain places, you know, like what's happening in Ukraine right now, is rightfully denounced for it. You can make fun of the British all you want for not having an empire anymore, but you know what? We already hate ourselves enough. We're not going to go around trying to restore our fallen pride or something like that. At least not for the foreseeable future anyway. I don't think that's ever in the works. Who knows what Boris Johnson's planning next. So yeah, that's it for now. Trying to think of anything else. There's a lot more to tell, but I'm already running out of time. So, and please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters, and subscribe to us already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.